Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our sunflower centerpiece luminary. I think this is going to be a great little piece to put on your Thanksgiving table, but obviously you can use it anywhere in your home. And it's pretty straightforward actually, and we're going to pop into it right now. Just jump right in and get going here. We're going to start off by assembling the main part of the structure, which is this guy here. And I've already pre-folded this piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to take and attach these pieces so that we can create the little end caps for this. So grab your glue, and these are symmetrical pieces, so it doesn't matter which side's which. Go ahead and just throw a little bit of glue on one of the tabs, nice and thin. Spread that glue out onto the entire tab, just to make sure we get good coverage. And we're going to attach this right here. Just find a good grip. Hold it however you need to. You can actually probably just do this flat. Might just be easier. There we go. Keep it nice and straight. You can take it then, fold it over onto itself, and just make sure that these score marks here line up with the score marks from the main structure. That'd be a good indicator that we have it precise. Okay, we'll do the same thing with this side here. So let's throw some glue on this tab. Spread that glue around, nice and thin, and line that up as accurately as you can. You can spread these little wings out just so you can see the score marks. Make sure that it's nice and centered. That looks great. Perfect. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to take and we're going to glue this tab to this structure here. Let's take our tab and spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab here. There we go. And we're going to take this and simply just line it up with the very edge. Grab it from the tab here. Just line that up as accurately as you can, up against the very edge of that. Most of these sections are going to be hidden anyway, so we're just using this to ensure that it's nice and structurally sound. Okay. There we go. Looks good. Let me move this out of the way for a second here. There we go. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on this side. Just throw a little bit of glue on this tab. There we go. Spread that glue out to the very edge. We'll take this and just line that up as accurately as we can, like so. I'm going to put this down on my surface and press down on the inside. There we go. Okay, and next you just need to take these little tabs and we're going to connect that to the other wall here. So we'll just lift this up and press that up against this wall. You can actually put that down on your surface like so. Press down from the inside if that helps. Okay, there we go. And then we can move on over to this side here. We've got one more tab. And just spread that glue out like so. And tuck that in and press and hold. There we go. Give that a few seconds. There we go. Okay. So basically constructed a little box. Now we're going to close it up. Got a little bit of glue on there. That's okay. That's the bottom. No one's really going to see it anyway. Okay, so now we're going to take and apply our glue to the remaining 3 tabs here. It's okay if you go a little bit heavier here. We've got a lot of surface area to cover. And Want to make sure we have enough time. Spread that glue out nice and thin all the way around, out to the very edge of the tab, like so. And then we're going to close this up, and all we need to do is just focus on aligning the edge of this with this side here. Get it right out to the very, very edge, and then start pressing down on that seam there. And then the two sides should just kind of naturally fall into place. You may have to give this wall a little bit of a nudge in. If that's the case, that's fine. That happens. I can flip this over, and you've got these little holes here, so you can kind of stick your finger inside and press down on the tabs to get the rest of the surface area to hold better. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's our little platform for tea lights. Now obviously we're going to be using electronic tea lights, not actual flames. Okay, so next what we can do is put this little panel on top just to give it a nice finished look. Go easy on the glue here. This is it's like a linen sort of gold foil, and the bottom of it, or the back side of it, is very smooth. It's not porous. It's not like your typical cardstock. So if you're using a paper like this, just remember that it's going to take a little bit longer for this to set. It's going to slide around a little bit more. So we want to be extra careful, especially putting this on a dark colored cardstock, that we take our time and make sure that we have it where we want it the first time around. And that looks pretty good. Just make sure all those circles are nice and equal as far as the little borders going around. Work your finger around the perimeter, make sure that's sitting nice and flat, and then you can take and just kind of, like you're making a little pie crust, get the rest of it in place. It's kind of cool just by itself. Okay, looks good. I think I got it pretty well centered. I dig it. Okay, great. And we're just going to kind of piece the various parts together here. These are like the little end caps. And those are actually going to go on next, so we're going to build these real quick. We have this piece you want to fold at the score marks, and we're going to put our gold piece on top of that. It's going to be centered. Just want to match up the little cutouts in the center. So we'll just throw a little bit of glue around this piece, like so. And I'm looking at the little rectangular cutout in the center and just trying to match that up. The rest of it will fall into place if you do that. That looks good. Press that down. Wonderful. Just like that. Kind of folding it over and pressing at the very ends as well. And then this piece is going to go right on top. And again, we're matching up the little rectangular cutout. This little piece here is going to be flush at the bottom. So just keep that in mind. We've got all of the supplies for this in our supply list. And I think that we'll probably be able to find actual links to these and where they might be available on the website under the supply list. Okay, so match up that rectangle, kind of run your finger along the bottom just to make sure that's nice and flush there, and then press that down into place. There's one. There we go. And we'll do the same thing with the other one here. Grab your glue. So I get to set up I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to do I'm actually going to do this in my living room, in my dining room, or if I'm going to do this in the studio, and then just kind of, the studio gives me a lot more control. I've done photo shoots in my dining room using natural light, but if you've ever done photography, the only problem with natural light is that it changes so much, and sometimes things are inconsistent. And being the perfectionist that I am, I sometimes don't like that. I like working with a controlled environment. Okay, so that one's going to go there. Again, just make sure it's flush. That rectangle is nice and centered. Press that down. And I'm going to take and fold this over and just kind of squeeze at the very ends as well. That looks great. Okay, so now what we're going to do next, we're going to just kind of start constructing things here a little bit, little by little. These two pieces, like I mentioned, they're little end caps. They're going to go right on the very ends of both of these sides. Okay, so kind of like that. And what we need to do is we're actually going to put, well, you know what? Honestly, I think the best thing to do is just to put glue on this section so that you know exactly where it needs to go. So I'm going to cover that nicely with some glue. Okay, I'll spread that out, top and bottom. Probably smart to do that. And the part that has a little thicker strip, that's at the bottom. So it's going to go on like this. And just wrap those two little tabs around. Make sure this is flush with the bottom. We'll glue those tabs down in just a second. I just want to make sure that we have this in place. You can also use your table and kind of push this down a little bit just to make sure that it is in fact nice and flush. And just press that down. Okay. And then we can take and just apply our glue right here. And press that down. And we can actually put that down on our surface while we apply glue to the other side and glue that down. Okay, just hold that in place for just a moment. And there we go, one of the ends is in place. We're going to repeat that same process on the other side. Throw some glue on the very edge there, spread it out top and bottom. Wipe your finger off and pop that in place. Remember that thick little strip should be at the bottom. Run your finger along the very, very bottom just to feel and make sure that everything is nice and flush. You can put that down on your surface too. Mine's a little bit off. That's good. Okay, so that's in place. You can peel this tab back. Throw a tiny bit of glue on right there. And fold that down. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on the other side here. And close that up. Perfect. Okay. All right, so getting there. All right, we'll put that off to the side now while we work on the actual sunflower element. It's 4 layers. So we've got this layer here. Let me just explain this. There's one piece of vellum, obviously. We're going to be careful with that. These 2 pieces should be identical as far as size for the most part, I think. Let me see. Yeah, it's pretty much the same size. This is going to be the liner for the inside. This part's going on the outside. This is the overlay that goes on top of that. And then the vellum is going to be sandwiched between that back layer and these top 2 layers. Okay, so we can kind of do this. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to put this piece on top of this piece first. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that this is going to go all the way out to the edge on the right, on the bottom right corner, as well as the bottom left corner. And everything else is going to have a little shadow or an offset. Okay, so there's going to be a border around every other element except for right here and right here. Okay, so we've got a lot of real estate to cover here. If you want, you can maybe break this up into 2 sections. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to break this down into 2 sections so that we can make sure to get plenty of glue. You don't want to go thick, just want to make sure that you cover everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of stop halfway, maybe up to this point here. And I'm going to put this down a half at a time, because we definitely want to get some glue on these little thin little areas, like that. And then obviously we need some glue up to there. Okay. So remember, it's flush at the bottom, so I'm kind of using the side without any glue on it yet as my initial guide for placement. I don't have to worry about any glue getting all over the place. And just press this down. Like I said, we went about halfway, and I think this should work. It's flimsy enough to where we should be able to lift up the other half and put that down, because this could be somewhat disastrous if we try to do it all at the same time. It's definitely possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but all right, so see what I'm doing here? I'm just kind of lifting up the other half while it's mostly resting on the table. And I'll start applying my glue to the other half of this. Just like that, nice and easy. And then the cool thing is when we put this down, it will just kind of plop into place. I don't have to worry about positioning it because we already have it mostly positioned on one half of it. And if you have any areas where there's maybe too much glue, just kind of hit it with your finger. And you can see how that just falls into place. And that definitely worked out. I figured it would. And this cardstock that I'm using actually is much thicker than some of the other stuff, some of the other cards. It's not 80 pound, it might be a little bit thicker. I've got one little area right here that I just didn't get enough glue on, but that's okay. Just grab a scrap piece of paper, tuck it right under there, just paint a little extra glue on that little area, press it down, and it's nice and perfect. Okay, so that's gonna be facing us once we get it all installed. Now we're gonna flip this over, and this is now time to put our vellum down. You can see the vellum's a little bit smaller, and you just wanna make sure you keep the glue off of the areas where there's cutouts, obviously. And one other thing too to keep in mind here is that this is a lot smaller than this surface, so you don't want to get glue out too far. Okay, so you got to find kind of a happy medium here. Not too close to the cutout, but not too far away from it either. And if you want, you can actually just do a series of little dots if you feel that gives you a little bit more control. I think that will also help prevent spilling of the glue onto the cutout areas. Okay, so I'm just going to do little dots, and the vellum's so thin and so lightweight that it'll hold it. And this is all going to be hidden by that last piece, so don't worry too much about how this might look once we actually put the vellum on. Kind of anticipated that was going to happen. Okay, and it's okay. All right, so that's probably good. Just make sure that you have the orientation correct. If it's flipped around, it's going to throw you off. And just pop that into place nice and easy. Try not to scoot it around too much. And just press that down. And it's mostly just to hold it in place, because once we put this layer on, it's really going to hold it in place anyway. Okay, that's going to go on just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to flip this over. This one's a little bit thicker. We could definitely do the same little method where we kind of split this in half. This one is a little bit thicker as far as all the little details. I don't think we're going to need to, because I can be a little more sloppy with this, and that means I can be quicker. You can see that I'm almost done with one half there. And I think that will be fine. I don't think we need to split this one up. I'm gonna just take that and pop it right on top, like so. Just match that up as accurately as you can. There we go. Okay, so there it is. 3 layers of paper, 1 layer of vellum. Take a look at everything here on the back. It looks good. If you do have any little minor gaps, you can always take and just grab your scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue on there, and I'm noticing that I have a little bit of a gap here. Just paint a little extra glue in between these 2 layers and just press and hold that down just to make that all nice and solid there. If that happens, no big deal, you can always fix it. All right, so that's one half. We're gonna repeat the same process for the other side. So I'm gonna start off with the main design here. Okay, so just like we did before, I'm gonna start with just one half of this. This one's probably the most important one to get right, to get it clean and accurate. So I'm going to take my time and just break it up into 2 sections. If for some reason that doesn't work for you, you can always just do both sides, and that will be fine too. I'm going to do this half too, or this little section here. Okay. Again, I'm lining it up on this side first because there's no glue on it, so I can kind of move it around and then drop the part with the glue in place And it falls perfectly where it needs to be, up to that point there. I've got this little guy. I didn't get enough glue on that section, so I'll just grab my scrap and just tuck a little glue under there and press that down. Perfect. Okay, looking good so far. And now I can take this, flip it over this way, and I'll grab my glue and start applying it to the other half. Nice and easy, nice and thin. Don't overdo it with the glue. It might have actually pulled back a little bit more, a part that was already glued down, but that's okay. It's not going to cause any problems. There we go. And drop that in place. You can see how that naturally just falls into place because we already have it anchored. Beautiful. And it just makes it a lot cleaner, a lot neater, and actually easier, which is always good. Okay, wonderful. So I've got that half done. We'll flip it over, and we gotta put the vellum in. Like I said, I think the best bet is just to, whoa, that kind of shot out. We'll just do some dots, just around the little cutout areas. Keep it somewhat close, but not right up to them, obviously. Okay. Probably don't even need this much glue, to be honest, but that's okay. I'm just being thorough, making sure that it's all going to stay in place for us. Do a little bit there, and then right around here. Perfect. Okay, just remember to be careful as you put this down. Just kind of get a visual on where it's going. Nice even border around the vellum. And I was way off to the left, but that's okay. Don't move it around too much though. There we go, perfect. That turned out nice. Let's take a look from the front, perfect. Okay, so then we just need to close this up, hide that vellum. That's also going to make this a little more sturdy. This glue's really shooting out now, I don't know why. Okay, so this one I think we can handle this in one fell swoop. Again, if you want to use that method where you divide it in half and just do half at a time, that's fine too. And this one's probably not as flimsy as the other one, so it may be a little more challenging to break it into two segments, but you can always give it a try. Okay, and I remember I had little issues with some of the tips here, probably because I didn't get enough glue out to the extremities, but that should be plenty. Whoa. Okay, I'll grab that and match that up carefully. If you're off too much, you may splatter some glue on that vellum, and then it will definitely show through on the other side, so be careful. And that was perfect. Just about. Yep, there we go. Press that down. Beautiful. Let's take a look. And there it is. Great. Okay. All right, so all that's left to do now is we're going to take our base and we're going to start gluing this to the side, like so. So I think the best thing to do is to apply glue to the tabs as well as this section here. I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the glue here because this is kind of a heavy piece. It's going to need a little extra strength. There we go. That should do it. Now, this layer here, the thinner layer with the little offset, you want that on the outside. The last layer that we put onto this is going to be on the inside. Okay, so this is like my designer paper on the outside here. Just make sure it's flush at the bottom. Make sure it's making good contact here and here. And a little bit of glue seep out of there, but that's okay. Not really going to see that too much. And you can press down here as well. And continue pressing here. I'm just going to kind of hold it like this and give it a good squeeze. And there we go. So that should sit nice and flat. And I'm looking at it now, and I do have a couple extra little gaps up at the top that I can definitely go in and clean up with my scrap piece of paper. I'll just take and just apply a little bit of glue right to these very tips and just close them up. And that'll make it look nice and polished. It's a lot of surface area to work with. And don't be surprised if not every little section is perfect. But again, we are going to just clean that up and make it look nice and tidy by going in and just adding a little bit of glue wherever it needs it. It'll just take a few extra seconds, but it's going to look so much more professional and will actually last longer too if we get it all glued together nicely. I'm going to grab a fresh scrap piece of paper here. And I've got this little tip here that I want to clean up as well. There we go. So I'll go around, and if I have any more that I want to clean up, I will definitely do that. All right, so now all that's left to do is put the other side in place. So let's do that. Let's apply our glue to this tab onto the main structure. I'm going to go a little bit heavier here. And then the tab, spread that out, or dab it, whatever feels better. I like them both. There we go. And we'll take the main design and pop that right into place. Should be nice and flush with the bottom, nice and flush on the sides. Okay, we'll put that down, press down from the inside on those two tabs. And while we do that, we're kind of naturally just pushing down on this segment here. If you want to try to hot glue that, you can. I almost feel like it might be too thick, so I would probably avoid it, but this Scotch glue should be fine. I'm looking at the bottom, everything looks pretty spot on. So that's the majority of it. Okay, that looks great. Now all that's left to do is just finish it up with this little panel. It's going to go around the sides. Okay, so it's going to go like this, like that. So we're actually going to, there's two little tabs on each side. Don't worry about those tabs yet. We'll glue those down later on. I'm just more concerned about the main structure, the main surface here, the main part of it, all the way out to the very edge, minus the tabs. Don't worry about the tabs just yet. And this is going to be flush at the bottom. Okay, so I'm kind of holding it by the two ends, feeling for the very edge, and the areas where the score marks are for those tabs should fit perfectly onto the very ends, and then also feel at the bottom here and make sure that's flush with the bottom, and then press that down. You can actually put this down flat on your surface, push down on the inside to get the bulk of it to stay, and then we can kind of run our fingers along the very base to get that part to sit nicely. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, that all looks good. Now I'm actually seeing that I have a little bit of a gap on the main sunflower. So I'm just going to put a little extra glue on there and hold that down. I want that part to be nice and strong. Okay, so while I hold that down, we have these little tabs here. You just put a little tiny dot of glue on that and then just fold that over and press that down. And that's just, we're gonna put two more pieces on this side, and that kind of helps it maintain a seamless look in case something's a little bit off. That will clean it up for you. Okay, so I've got one more tab on the other side here, and we'll pop that in place. You can see I just put that other tab in place. Everything should be nice and flush at the bottom, just like that. Okay, now we'll flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing with the other half. So let's get our glue flowing on that. Nice and easy with the glue. It's really hard to see where my glue's going on this polka dot pattern. So focus if you're doing the same thing, or if you happen to have the same paper I do, which maybe you do, just be careful. I'm going to grab it from the ends, kind of feel for that edge that corner, the two corners, and just pop that into place. Run my finger along the very bottom, scooch it down a little bit. We want it to be nice and flush so we don't see any of that yellow poking through from underneath. Press that down and put it down on my surface, push down on the main part of it, flip it back over, press down. Looks perfect. I'm looking at it while it's sitting on the table, and I'm not seeing anything showing up underneath. Everything looks nice and seamless, in which case we can take and apply some glue to the little tab, fold that over and press down. And we've got one more tab here. Or did I already glue that down? Okay, I must have glued it down already. Okay, fine. All right, so now all it's left to do is take these little end cap pieces and just glue those down into place on the corners there. And we're just gonna put glue on this piece to do that. Nice and thin. Make sure you spread it out. And pop that into place, nice and flush with the bottom. And it should meet with this little cutout, this rectangular cutout. And I'm just gonna keep that on my surface so I can just kind of pop it into place, nice and accurate. Perfect, mostly. That looks good. Okay, last one. Get that in place. And there we go. Perfect. Make sure again it's nice and flush with the bottom. Should be centered. There we go. Perfect. Cool, look at that. Okay, so now you'll notice that on this piece here, did I ink this? I don't know if I inked this. I don't think it needs to be inked. It's brown on brown. I think it's fine. We've got this little cloud looking shape and then this sort of cloud looking shape. And you'll notice that there's a series of little score marks here. They look like little V's. One right there and one right there. That's to help you with the placement of this piece. And then we've got, let me see if there's one more there. That's for something else. So that's how that's gonna go on. Go easy on the glue here. It's a very delicate little piece. I think you could probably make a couple of these in like an hour, hour and a half. And they would make beautiful little additions to your dining room decor. That's gonna go like that. Perfect. And then this little guy, there's also two little markers here and here. So there's like that little center half ball of the cloud. It's gonna go right into that little area there. Okay, and then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take some various sized pearls and just kind of decorate this little area with some pearls. So take a look. I'm not gonna do that on camera because it's pretty straightforward. I'm sure you guys have worked with pearls. If you are gonna add pearls or rhinestones, make sure you actually glue them down and don't use the adhesive that comes on those. They don't really work very well. Okay, so there's that. And each side has these little flourishes, okay? And we do have little markers here to help you with the positioning of these, although they are kind of hard to see on this pattern paper. Let me take a look and see if I can figure this out. Sometimes if you, okay, well, it's because I have it the wrong way. Actually, I have the wrong one completely. And that should be the one, yep. Okay, so, there we go. So there's a little V shape there. There's a little V shape there for the tip of that little leaf. There's one for this little leaf, and then there's also a V shape here for this little circle. So that's gonna go right there, literally. And this is another little delicate piece. I would just use a series of little dots on all of the large parts. You can kind of spread it around a little bit, and then just a very, very thin little line of glue on there. So all these leaves are pointing to the left. I'll get that in place. Look for the little markers for the tips of the leaves, and that's going to go on just like that. There we go. Okay, there it is. And then these leaves are going to be pointing to the right, and we have very similar little markers for those. So you've got a little V that goes right into this area here, a little V for this leaf, a little V for this leaf, and then another little V for that little area there, okay? And we're gonna repeat this process on the other side as well. I don't think I really need to show you that since it's pretty much the same exact thing. So I think we'll probably just wrap it up with this last piece, and I'll just kind of show you where the other half goes. It's just a very simple little decorative piece that I'm sure you guys can handle on your own. Okay, there it is. Wonderful. Okay, so that's in place. Again, as I mentioned, take a look at the final photo so you can see how I arranged the little pearls there. But that's it. I can't wait to see what this looks like when it's lit up. And by the way, again, on the other side, you've got another one that goes here, and you've got another guy here. Same set of markers, okay? And then, of course, we have these little guys here. On the left-hand side, the leaves are going to be pointing to the left, and on the right-hand side, they're going to be pointing to the right. Just look for those little markers to help you with the positioning. So that's it. I'm going to get some tea lights for this and see what it looks like. It's going to look awesome, I'm sure. But either way, a wonderful little piece. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and visit us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom of your screen. So again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.